So there's a lot of things you can do to like own the Trumpies and own Donald Trump. But getting Dick Cheney on your side isn't one of them. Like if you're trying to go after a man's character, don't get somebody with a worse character on your side to go after that. They're doing this to try to show, oh, look at the writings on the wall. Even the Republicans are turning against Trump. They're doing this to overcompensate because the president of Russia likes to shitpost, and he pretended to endorse Kamala Harris.
Значит, фаворитом, если можно сказать, был действующий президент, господин Байден. Вот он, его сняли с гонки, но он рекомендовал всем своим, значит, сторонникам поддержать госпожу Харрис. Ну вот и мы тоже так сделаем, будем ее поддерживать. Это, во-первых, а во-вторых, она... Разовещали.
So literally nobody's taking that seriously except for the media. They're like, oh my god, we have to overcompensate for that. They were trying to get former President Bush to endorse Kamala Harris, but he had to come out and say that he's not endorsing anyone. Like, there's a lot when it comes to judging Trump's character, and it's very, very hard to find somebody who's not qualified to do so. Dick Cheney is not He shot a dude in the face and made that dude apologize. 78-year-old Harry Whittington.
My family and I are deeply sorry for all that Vice President Cheney and his family have had to go through this past week. We send our love and respect to them as they deal with situations that are much more serious than what we've had this week.
So not only was he hit in the face with a bird shot, a piece went into his chest, landed near his heart, which caused him to have a heart attack and AFib. He also suffered a collapsed lung, but he's the one apologizing. Dick Cheney acted like they were buddy-buddy, and yet he was all scarred.
The image of him falling is something I'll never be able to get out of my mind. I fired, and there's Harry falling, and it was, I'd have to say, one of the worst days of my life.
Yeah, you were looking at Harry go down in your scope. It was a perfect shot. Dick Cheney was like, oh, we were buddy-buddy, we're such good friends. Then Harry Whittington was like, yeah, no, we've met a couple of times. I'd say we're acquaintances. And then all the shit that happened in Iraq, them lying to get us to go there, Trump's been very vocal against that the entire time. So I'd have Dick Cheney on your side like, oh, he's a man of character. It's like, do you have short-term memory or something? I'm sure this is going to be brought up at the debate, which is going to take place on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC News. Trump won the coin toss and given this election to speak first or last, or which podium, he chose to speak last. Kamala Harris picked the podium on the right. There's going to be no live audience. They're not going to have live mics despite Harris's push for them. It's going to be 90 minutes long. They're not allowed to have props, notes, and candidates can't ask each other questions. Typically, the first debate will have a big impact on the election. I mean, look what happened with the last debate with Trump and Biden. Since Biden has withdrawn from the race, Democrats have seen a noticeable increase in their polling. They are now about 2 points ahead. But there's another thing you need to keep in mind when watching the polls. The polls in 2016 had Hillary Clinton winning by 3 points. The polls were actually right. She ended up winning by 2. The polls don't count for the Electoral College. That's how we choose the president. He was down by 2 and probably could have lost 2 more states and still won the election. The Democrats really need to be ahead about 5 or 6 points in order for it to be comfortable. Now, if the Republicans are winning by 1 because of how the Electoral College is and because of how polls are conducted, that's an automatic win for the Republicans. Now, you can't really tell based on the polls, but the Democrats should be worried. They should be more ahead if they want to win. So we will notice a change in the polls probably by next Friday. All right, we're going to do a couple of TikTok reactions and get back to the news.
I just realized that if I were in the USA right now, I would be on the lookout for a funnel cloud. So, why don't we ever hear about tornadoes in Europe?
So Europe has their own tornado alley, but the tornadoes they get are very, very small. They're like EF2s. I went and found one of the worst European tornado outbreaks in the 21st century, and is the 2005 July outbreak that happened in the United Kingdom, Central, and Eastern Europe, with 46 tornadoes. 12 were unknown in size, 10 were in F0, 12 were in F1, and 12 were in F2. And for those who don't know, this is an example of an F2. Now compare those numbers with the United States. In 2011, we had 300 tornadoes in a day. The Rocky Mountains with the cold air, the Great Plains, and the Gulf Coast with the warm air creates the perfect storm for the fastest, the largest, and the most tornadoes in the entire world. So every time there's a tornado over there, again, like I said, the biggest ones being an F2, they wreak havoc on neighborhoods, ripping walls from houses. Like, we get it because we know how strong tornadoes are, but they lecture us for having wooden houses, and they're flattened when they're hit with an F4. A force of nature they've never seen, and I hope they never see. In the US, unless an F2 throws a tractor into a Walmart, it is not making the news. This is my mutual who lived right next to Tornado Alley when she lived in the US, now lives in Italy. She would have to travel a little further north to be in the European Tornado Alley. And even then, at best, you're getting tornadoes that like New England gets at its worst. Once again, I have been summoned. This post reads, Define humiliation. The last time America declared war on Britain, it ended with the White House in flames. Right, but then what happened? Actually, you know what? I'll tell you what happened. First of all, it wasn't burnt down. You can still see evidence of the fire in 1814 in the White House today. Pretty much all of the stone walls and these columns, which were right in the middle, also survived. And a lot of precious items, artifacts, and paintings like this one of George Washington only survived because of First Lady Dolly Madison. So it wasn't like smoldering ashes and we lost everything. You made us remodel. That was about it. But 3 weeks later, Francis Scott Key watched U.S. soldiers who were under heavy bombardment from British naval forces raise a large American flag over Fort McHenry. He wrote a poem that became the Star-Spangled Banner, our official national anthem. So every time the national anthem is played, just know it's us talking shit, that you'll never be better than us, and you'll never beat us. And for the rest of our country's existence, we are going to remind you of that. But the Americans weren't done with the British there. That did not end the conflict. The conflict ended with this guy. Easily the most terrifying American to ever exist, Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was still holding a grudge for the way that he was treated back in the 1770s, back when he was only 13 years old. This KD is absolutely insane. He only had 5,700 troops and went up against over 8,000. That's what happened next. In 2023, the New England Patriots fell off hard, but it's a new season with a new head coach. Very little action in the first quarter. First play of the second quarter, Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots puts it in for 6. 5 minutes left until halftime, the Bengals attempt to answer back. 3rd and 11, ball on the 15. Tanner Hudson goes in for 6, but loses it on the 1. Marcus Jones picks it up and brings it back to the 20. The problem with the Bengals was the turnovers. This was a 54-yard punt in the third quarter. Fumbled on the 20, recovered by the Patriots. The Patriots answer back with 3, extending their lead 13-0. With just a minute left in the third quarter, the Bengals finally put on 6 points with Zach Moss's run up the middle. The Patriots answer back with a 37-yard field goal, making it a 9-point game. The Bengals answer back with a 51-yard field goal, making it a 1-possession game with 6 minutes left. 3 minutes left, 3rd and 10, ball on the 10, down by 6. This is the Bengals' last chance. The Patriots just need a first down and run out the clock. The Patriots go on to win 16-10, and Coach Miles celebrates his first win after his very first game as NFL head coach. A wild week 1 in the NFL, but nobody had a crazier day than Tyreek Hill. Miami-Dade police officer placed on administrative duty after Dolphin star Tyreek Hill is detained.
No, it's actually Tyreek.
Miami-Dade Police Department Director Stephanie Daniels said Sunday that an investigation has begun into the incident, and one of the officers involved is being placed on administrative duties. A second Dolphins player said he was also handcuffed when trying to discuss the situation with officers at the scene. They're gonna find out that this guy has like the Jacksonville Jaguars defense on his fantasy football team or something. After being detained, his day ended with a comeback win against the Jacksonville Jaguars that featured a handcuffs celebration after scoring a key touchdown.
So when I left home, I told my wife, I was like, babe, I'm finna go to work and I'm finna get prepared for my day. Little did I know, that was quite a surprise on the way, man. But you know what? At the end of the day, dog, I got a job to do.
He also added that he didn't swear or was disrespectful in any way to the officer. I'm assuming the police department is going to try to say that he was reckless driving or something.